What's up, YouTube? Jeff back again from SammyGuru.com, and today a very exciting Samsung video for you guys. Today I'm going to show you guys the first things to do with your brand new watch running One UI 9 watch. Now, if you already purchased a Galaxy Watch 9, which I have my Galaxy Watch 9 44mm right here, then you already have One UI 9 watch. And if you are waiting, have an older watch, it should be rolling out in the next few weeks. So what we're going to do today is go through all those features. You can save this video if you don't have it yet. I also have the Watch Ultra 2, which has a couple of additional features that are not on the Watch 9, which I'll talk about at the end. So I want to go through all the things that you can do. We also have a brand new Galaxy wearable app. Now, I do want to say most of the things that you can do on the watch in terms of settings, I've got it here so we can see how things change as I apply settings. Most of them are easier to do on the phone. And so I'm going to kind of go through the settings over here first, just to make sure you guys can kind of see. And if they are mirrored, sometimes I might use the watch as well. If you guys are interested in purchasing either of these, you can do so on the SammyGuru website. We have all of our full coverage over there. So the first thing I'll mention is the watch faces. So you have a couple ways you can do it. If you want to do it from the phone itself, you can long press on the watch face, and you can pick a new watch face that you've already added, or add one from this little plus sign. You can also go through and customize each individual one. Now, before I go through and do that, let me show you really quickly. You have this little phone thing here, which will allow you to open your watch faces over here. And like I said, sometimes it's a little easier to add watch faces from here. And the new Galaxy wearable app has a full page where you can actually see featured watch faces from One UI 9 watch, which has some of the newer watch faces, and then also some of the photo watch faces, sorted by category, workout, classic, etc. So once you pick one of these that you like, you can, choose one, and you can choose, color, style, and then you can apply it directly to your watch from here, and it'll show up. And if you already have it on the Customize tab, like I said there, you can go in and do the customization from here. You can also do it from over there. Some people like it a little better on the watch because you can just swipe through and do it right from here. You can see the background, change the color just by swiping up or down. And then you've got your individual complications. If you tap on the complications, you can choose weather, which I often like to use myself, but there's a bunch of different complications. You've got time, you've got activities, different apps. Pretty much every app, Samsung stock app, has a complication. I like to leave mine at weather most of the time. Now, this does the same thing over here. If you hit edit, like I said, some people find it easier to edit over here. I certainly do. You can see all the different colors. They're a little bit easier to see because they're all laid out. And you can also go here and tap on the complication and edit it directly. And it's sometimes a little bit easier to swap those out right there. So if you want to get temperature, if you want to get steps, whatever you want to do, you can do that right there and then hit save, and it's going to show. So now it's going to show over here on the watch face. So that's how to edit your watch faces. There are a lot of options. Also, if you tap here, you can go through and see all the watch faces and set them individually. Now, the other thing you can do, if you go over here on the watch, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can also just do this on the Play Store. There's also more watch faces on the Play Store, and then you can download like some free ones. There's some paid ones. You can see some various ones. I'll drop some links to some that I recommend for paid ones, and there's some really cool ones. There's one that looks like Rolex, Tag, Omega, whatever you want. You can install them directly to the watch. You could also find those on the Play Store here. If you wanted to do it from your phone, you can go over here and just search for watch faces. If you go to apps, you can find wearable in here, and you can just install them directly from the phone, and then they'll move over. And you can also go back here, find my watch faces anytime you want. That's another place that you can find that same screen that we've shown before. And then again, this nice little animation. Everything about the new Galaxy wearable app is fantastic in my opinion. I absolutely love it. Samsung did an amazing job with the brand new Galaxy wearable app that came with One UI 9 watch. Okay, up next, let's talk about notifications. This is actually super important on the watches. Again, settings over here, you can go there. I like to go on the phone, so I'm going to do it there. There's a couple of different things you want to do here. First of all, you want to decide on phone notifications on the watch. Do you want smart device selection, which means it's going to choose based on the situation, whether or not your watch and phone get the notification or which one gets it, or you always show on both. It's really up to you. I've been using the smart device selection. I feel like it's gotten better with One UI 9 watch in the time I've been testing the Watch 9 and the Watch Ultra 2. Now, if you go to app notifications, this is where you're also going to want to decide which apps you want notifications from. I usually just turn all of them on because they like to turn some of them off. You also need to make sure you turn on your phone apps. Now, this is what's really weird, and this also appears in the notification menu over here. you've got two kind of notifications: notifications from watch apps, which is up here, and then the apps that are being mirrored from your phone. And of course, you want key notifications from social apps, so make sure you go in and turn all of those on. And then also, you can see here, some of them only include certain notifications. That's because those specific apps may have specific notification categories turned off, which you then have to change on your phone, which I'll show you in a second. You also can choose if you want to sync do not disturb with your phone, which I usually do that because if I'm in a meeting, I don't want notifications on either, but depending on your job, your life, you might not have the same preferences. Advanced settings, new notification indicator on the watch. So that means, basically when you have a notification, you're going to get this little dot over here, which is actually kind of hard to read on this particular one because this is orange watch face and the dot is orange. Show details automatically when checking notifications after an alert. Turn on screen. I like this, but it does drain battery. Read notifications aloud. I don't need that one. And auto turn on watch notifications for new phone apps. I do that just in case I do install an app where I do want the notification, because otherwise it's going to turn it off. Now, help with notifications is if you aren't getting them. I will say, I have had a lot better time with One UI 9 Watch, but you will see here phone notifications on Watch. It says here some of these are not shown because you were using your phone when they arrive. You've set your watch to smart device selection, which is just notification alerts from phone to watch. And it's saying that some of these apps were not shown because you were using the phone. That's why they didn't come on. So here it's just showing you ones that are blocked on your watch, do not disturb, and also tips if you have a tattooed wrist. Now, the other thing you need to do is go in here, go to the notification settings on your phone, go to advanced settings, and turn on manage notification categories for each app. This allows you then to go into the apps and change which categories you get notifications for. Go to any app. So let's say a social app like X. Now you have notification categories down here. You can choose what you want notifications for on X, like incoming calls, chats, DMs, etc. If one of these is off, then of course you also won't get it on the watch. So a lot of times people get confused by that because say, I'm not getting a notification I want from Facebook Messenger. It could be because I disallowed a certain notification category. There's a ton of things to check. Another thing to check is that when you have a specific app and you want notifications all the time, go to battery and make sure it's unrestricted instead of optimized, because otherwise you may not get the notifications for that either. There's a lot of places where these notifications can end up not being carried over to your watch or not even showing up on your phone. So make sure you set all that stuff up, because otherwise you're not going to get the notifications you want. Definitely one of the most important settings on your Galaxy Watch. Okay, so the next one I recommend is to install some watch apps from the Play Store. Now, the app screen over here, also you have a screen where you can choose how you want your apps to look. Show featured apps based on usage, which I usually turn on. It'll show you recommendations. And then here, I usually change this from grid to list. I just like it better. It's really up to you. And then down here, you'll notice under apps, you can install apps from the Play Store on your phone. But personally, I think for the installing apps portion, I usually use the Play Store on the watch itself. If I go to the Play Store on my phone, then I'm not finding only watch apps. And I'll give you guys another tip. One app that I always download, which you actually see here on the screen right now, is Gboard. And that's because I just don't like the Samsung keyboard on the Galaxy Watch. It's great on the phones and I use it, but I prefer Gboard. It's a suggestion, another tip to install that. But you can install any watch apps you want directly from the Play Store on the phone. And for the purposes of installing apps, I think it's a little better. There's a lot of great apps. I mean, make sure you have your music apps. We talked about watch faces. There's a lot of things like hiking, running apps, Strava, things like that you may want to download. Podcast apps like Pocket Cast. There's a lot of stuff that I use on my Wear OS watch. And then they'll all appear down here in the list along with the stock apps. You can even get a Gmail app, which, maybe you don't want to read a lot of your email on your phone, but you can do it. So make sure you grab some apps, whichever apps you're going to use on your watch. Install those from the Play Store on your watch. Okay, the next one that I have is to customize your sounds and vibrations. So here, if you go over to this tile here, this gives you all your settings for the watch. And you can see sounds and vibrations lives right here. So there's a lot of things to look at, whether you want sound, you want mute. And again, all these settings are mirrored here. You could go in here and do it too. You've got vibration. I usually turn this to long and strong instead of short. It's just more noticeable. Call vibration. You've got a lot of different options that you can choose. I don't know why they don't have firework on here. It's on the Watch Ultra 2, but not on the Watch 9, which I found strange. System vibration. You can determine, if you want vibration feedback for your keyboard. But again, that doesn't work with Gboard. It only works with the Samsung keyboard. Your volume, ringtone, and system sounds as well, if you want sounds for hourly chime, ticking, the unlock sound, and touch interaction. So you can get like the clicking of the keyboard. Another thing I wanted to mention too, that's really cool that I just remembered with One UI 9 Watch is that you now have momentum-based scrolling. So if you scroll faster, and also if you just like swipe really hard, it'll go through a bunch of different tiles at one time. So I encourage trying this. If you get a lot of notifications, you can swipe through them really quickly to the end if you want, which is a pretty cool feature. It's a very small thing, but it's a tip, and it is something new with One UI 9 Watch. The next one is to set up health features and the tiles. So your watch has a lot of health features, and some of these are on by default, but some of the new ones like vitals and the ECG, blood pressure, all that kind of stuff, the cardio load, a lot of that stuff requires a separate download, which is this app right here, Samsung Health Monitor. Now, if you go in here and try to use something like vitals, it's going to tell you that you need to download Samsung Health Monitor, or the ECG rather. It's going to tell you to download this. This can monitor sleep apnea, the blood pressure, and do your ECG, which you can see I took earlier. I'm not the biggest fan of wearing my watch while I sleep, but that is a very big feature that they've been promoting. And so I'm trying to get used to doing it, just to kind of get that sleep score every night. I usually wear my Galaxy ring, but you guys see I started last night wearing this one just to kind of see if I can get that baseline and continue using the watch for the vitals. You also get your energy score. Like I said, vitals is new, and you can add these various tiles. You can also set up your favorite workouts. They've got the running coach now. So running coach now will allow you to go in here and find your running level. So you can see here with your running level, it'll basically let you know, edit your stuff. I definitely don't weigh 143 pounds. You can go in here and put all of your information in, activity level, and it'll tell you what your running level is. I'm definitely going to start using my watch more for working out because one of my goals this year is to lose weight, and I definitely need to do that. So that's something I'm definitely going to do, and I do like the fitness features of this for that purpose. Now, one thing I will say too is that in certain menus, you notice here, the side swipe gesture doesn't always work. Like if you're in certain menus, I don't know if Samsung did that maybe on purpose, but it would be nice to be able to have that option to get back out. Because you notice if you go into something like, let's say Bixby, you can go back out using just the side swipe. Could just be because I'm behind the camera, but I have noticed that a little bit in certain things. So you need to install Samsung Health Monitor. That'll enable a lot of stuff, which you guys see here in the brand new Samsung Health app. So there's a lot of cool stuff in here. Energy score, sleep score, heart health, which again is another new one that tracks a bunch of metrics. Health records you can add now. Hearing, which is a new feature that you can actually track using your watch. So to enable that, you're going to go in here, and this also has to be turned on in the health app. So a lot of these are both, like you've got to do it on both. Enable it on the watch, and then it also needs to be enabled in one of these apps. Sound monitoring, which will determine if you're exposed to really loud sounds that could potentially hurt your hearing. And so Ages Index is another cool one. There's just tons of health features. Samsung added probably more health features than anything else on One UI 9 Watch and this brand new Samsung Health app. Daily cardio load shows you your target cardio load. Hopefully once I start working out with it more, it'll be working a little better. And antioxidant index, which basically you can measure this by pressing the pad of your thumb to the center of the watch. So here we go. We have the measurement for my antioxidant index. Uh-oh, my antioxidants are low. That's not good. So it's on the borderline, but I don't know. This is the first time I've actually measured it. So it tells you here, maybe I need to eat some more vegetables today. But still, some very cool health features. And like I said, the one thing you want to do is you need to set these up both on the watch and set up on the app. So on the Samsung Health app and Samsung Health Monitor to get some of those really premium features that have come to One UI 9 Watch. So make sure that you set them up in both places and download that app when prompted. You'll have to accept a bunch of permissions as well because a lot of these are things that are measuring your sensitive health data. And then it'll all appear here for the most part. Now you've got your fitness cards, which I talked about, body composition. And then over here, you can add more cards. You've got your media. And over here, I put antioxidant index and daily cardio load. Then you can add more tiles here, ages index, heart health, whatever else it is that you want. There's quite a few more tiles that can be added. And it's not just health stuff. You can also add browser. You can add compass, which now allows you actually to track your workouts, which is pretty cool. And track your routes now, which is a new feature also in One UI 9 Watch. So you can get all of those tiles there and then swipe through on your home screen. So there's quite a few new features here with health. And of course, just this new layout. The layout is very smooth. These new tiles, people didn't like the rounded tiles, I think, when they first came out. At least I didn't. But they've really grown on me over time for sure. All right, up next, let's talk about the buttons and the gestures. So this is something where you can definitely do it in here as well, but it's actually going to be, setting up how the double pressing and long pressing of the buttons work. So you've got your home button, obviously, and then you've got the back button up there. So you can set this, to go to previous screen or go recent apps, double press. You've got a bunch of options. You can do this, for pretty much anything you want. It goes to the most recent app if you do it by default, but, if you wanted to go to something specific like my music app, I can do that. The long press goes to Gemini, but you might not want that as well. So you can choose that to Bixby or the power off menu. Raise the talk goes to Gemini by default, and you can choose to be Bixby as well, although I find Gemini to be a little bit easier to use or more useful. Double pinch and shake gestures. So here you can shake your wrist to decline notifications, and you can also use pinch gestures to do various things. So double pinch for positive actions like answering a call, confirming an alert, and you shake them for declining or dismissing an alert or notification. So you can see here, this can be used on the watch face for next notification or tile, play and pause music or going to the next track, dismiss alerts or snooze. And actually I like to use snooze for my alarms. Calendar alerts, dismiss or snooze, and reminders, I like to choose complete. So that's pretty cool to have all those various gestures. And then the knock knock gesture will allow you to kind of do a knock knock motion and it'll open something. In this case, you can do exercises, recent apps, flashlight, water lock, any app you want, or stopwatch. I tend to use that one for the stopwatch just because it's nice if I want to have stopwatch and time something, I can easily access it. So this is a pretty nice one. The gestures tutorial is also kind of knocked through. It's pretty easy though. The pinch gesture, it works very simply, honestly. And it does recognize it. You just got to practice it a few times, and it works very easily to get that to work. And like I said, you can also use it to control things on the now bar as well, which is very nice. So if we go down here, one other thing I want to mention, if you tap the health setting actually in your watch settings, you have a few things that are more specific to the watch itself. So you can get notification specific things and choose if you want stress to be measured continuously, the heart rate, your sleep measurement, and all the things you want like snore detection, hearing, which I mentioned, the sound monitoring. You can get decibel alerts, ages index, cycle tracking, auto detect workouts, and you can choose which ones you want, and your inactive time. So that way it doesn't remind you while you're sitting at the desk at work. So there's a couple of quick settings that are right there from within the watch settings here you can access on Galaxy Wearable. And then also safety and emergency, you can set up medical information, and if you have a watch that's being set up for an elderly loved one, you can choose hard fall detection, which is a nice feature that it built in. You're setting this up for your grandmother, your grandfather, all that's in there. And also Samsung Wallet. So you can add your cards not only on your phone, but you can also then add them on your watch as well. Next thing, if we go into advanced features, quite a few things here. Disconnection alerts. You can choose sound and vibration or full screen alert. Sound and vibration is usually sufficient for me. I feel like it's going to vibrate and that's fine. Auto launch media controls, one I always turn on when I start listening to music. Status indicators, show always or hide. And the now bar style, which is a pretty important one. If you want this to show the camera controller, how you want the icon or the icon with text. So this is the longer version. This is the shorter version. And you can choose it for each individual app. And, certain ones like icon and map, I like to have the icon plus the text. Some of them I don't care, but some of them I only want, like the media controller. Sometimes I like to have both. So it's nice to have both of those in certain apps. You can decide on a per app basis how you want that to kind of show up. You can also choose if you want to use Bixby or not. Bixby can be accessed right in here. Choose all the Bixby settings like voice wake up words. the remote connection. This lets you sync data between your phone and watch over Wi-Fi while your watch's mobile network using Google Cloud Sync. And you can also call on other devices. So the way this basically works is Samsung has call and text on other devices. You can basically allow Bixby and text on Galaxy devices, and then you can make this your primary phone. I'm not going to do that right now because my other SIM is being swapped around right now while I'm in the review period. Once I settle my final phone on the Z Fold 8 Ultra, which I plan to make this my main phone, I will switch it over. The next thing is managing content, and then you also want to make sure you pair your Galaxy Buds to the watch as well, not just the phone, especially if you're going to take it to work out. So you can sync tracks between the watch using auto sync, and you can also sync images from your phone to your watch and choose how many images you want to sync. So you can see here I sank my phone, and you can sync your stories as well. So you can choose the sync limit for images. You don't want to use too many because, of course, you don't have unlimited storage in here, but then you can view them in your gallery. You can also use these then as watch faces because some of the watch faces allow you to use a person and kind of cut that out. So syncing your content is certainly nice, especially songs. If you want to have some locally, you don't have to use Spotify or whatever. Now, you do need to sign into your music app. This goes along with my suggestion of pairing your buds. If you're using YouTube Music or you're using Spotify, you want to make sure they auto sync because sometimes they don't. So you can see here, you do need to at least choose your account and sign in. And then your downloads will also appear over here. So you can choose like your workout mix or whatever, and then that'll transfer over here. So download music to go, phone free, connect to Wi-Fi to download. So this will allow you to then take it with you and do a workout with YouTube Music. Same thing goes for Spotify. And then, of course, to pair your buds, if you want to pair your buds on here, obviously this is off over here as well, but connections, just go to Bluetooth, pick your buds from the list. I got a whole bunch of Galaxy buds and just pair them up. That way you don't need your phone. If you want to go on a run without your phone, you're good. I think this gesture is just not working perfectly because I'm behind the camera. It works fine when it's on my wrist. Okay, so let's talk some more about battery optimization. So there's a couple of things. First of all, obviously, you can check your battery over here. Power saving, if you want to limit like health features and some other things, it'll tell you exactly what it'll do. Limit brightness, CPU performance, and it'll limit health features. So keep that in mind. Also, sleeping apps, so basically, if these are sleeping, you're not going to get notifications. So make sure there's nothing over here that you want notifications from. Sometimes you might want to remove things. The more apps that are sleeping, the more battery you'll save, but that also can create issues, obviously, when it comes to notifications coming through, like I talked about before. You can turn on battery protection, but with my watch, I never do this because I want it to 100%. Show charging info and auto power on. Now, the other thing that you can do with the individual apps is if you go to the watch apps over here and you go to something like Bixby, you can choose to look at the permissions. Now, what you'll notice is over here, the permissions are not there in this app info section. If you do go over here to apps on the actual watch and you go to apps list, this is the one place where it looks a little bit different. You go to Bixby on the watch, you'll notice here that you do have permissions. And so then if you don't use all these permissions, like for instance, Bixby doesn't need my location all the time, I can go over here and revoke this and remove precise location if I wanted. That'll save me battery life. And if I do that for all the various apps where I don't need those permissions, I'll save even more battery life. Now, this can certainly take some time because you've got to go through the menu here on the watch itself, but it is worth doing. I don't know why that option doesn't live over here. It seems like it probably should live over here as well on this menu because most of the stuff is synced between the phone and the watch menus, so it's easier to navigate over here. Is it in device care? I don't think so. No, I don't believe so. Not in device care there on the watch either. And in device care, you can also see how much storage you're using. I'm already using 13 gigs on my watch. I only sank a little music. I only sank some images, not that much stuff, but it's still not half. So still plenty of room to add some music and things like that. So make sure, optimize your battery, use power saving if you want, but get rid of some of those permissions because I think that's something that can definitely save you a lot of juice. And one other thing that I want to mention, if you go into display, these things also drain some battery, obviously. Always on display, raise wrist to wake, touchscreen to wake, which I keep turned on anyway. Screen timeout though, if you have it on 15 seconds, which is the default, will save you some battery life. I have it on 1 minute right now because I'm showing you guys stuff in this video and I don't want the screen to time out. But in general, I usually keep it at the 15 seconds as well. It just makes good sense to keep it there. But in general, the battery life on these new watches is great, so it's not a big deal. You can also change font size from here if you don't like the font size. Touch sensitivity as well if you need to use it with gloves, which is a very useful feature. And now if you raise your wrist, Gemini is always listening with the new watches, so you can immediately start using the assistant, which is another great feature. Now, if you go into your settings on your phone, another thing you might want to look at is suggested replies in Writing Assistant. So click OK. And what this will allow you to do is for suggested replies, you can turn this on, and this will now give you suggested replies on your watch, as well as, obviously, you see here, suggested replies showing your connected Galaxy Watch. This is something that has to be turned on the phone, though, in Galaxy AI. Otherwise, it doesn't give it the requisite permissions to show on the watch. So make sure you enable that. It's a quick thing, but it's something you'll probably want to take advantage of. Makes it a lot easier to answer people when you're using your watch. The next thing is to create app folders. So this is for those of you who use, if you use the list like I do, let's go back into Galaxy Wearable. Let's say you're not going to use the list. So let's say you're going to use the grid. This was a suggestion by David, one of our writers at SammyGuru. You want to combine your apps into folders just like you would on your phone, and you can do that. So a lot of people don't realize that you can have folders. And if I'm going to use the grid, it's terribly difficult to do these things behind the camera sometimes, then I usually combine them into folders because it makes more sense, especially I don't want to keep scrolling on the watch because it's a smaller screen than the phone. Combine them into folders that make sense. A lot of people don't realize you can even do that with the grid. But when I use the grid on my watch, it definitely helps a lot with the organization. All right, my last suggestions here have to do with developer options, and these are things that have been there for a while. But if you go into the settings here on your Galaxy Watch, and you scroll down here to About Watch, and as usual, go to Software Information. If you tap multiple times on the software version, you'll see Developer Mode turns on. Main menu, here at the bottom, you'll see Developer Options. Now, there's a couple of things that I recommend turning on here. The first one is Stay Awake by Charging, because it'll give you a bedside, like nightstand clock mode, kind of like the iPhones have where it shows the time. Very cool to have it on a charging dock. It's a good reason to buy a charging dock. A lot of people don't know you can use it as like a nightstand clock, and it shows the time at night instead of, that's of course if you don't use it on your wrist, I guess, for sleep tracking. So it really depends on, I guess, if you're someone who cares about that. The next one is Vibrate on Connectivity Change. This is if you have an LTE one, it's useful to have. Scroll down a little bit more, and this one is very useful to have on only in certain circumstances. If you're going on like a run, or you're going on, a hike and you want to track GPS, use the GPS to track your run or your hike. This gives you precise GPS versus the more approximate one that's by default, but it will drain your battery. So keep that in mind. This is one that I would only turn on when you want to go on those runs or those hikes, and then it can be incredibly useful. And then the other one, if you want to make your watch seem a little snappier, just like on your phone, you can change the animation scale, the transition scale, and the animator duration scale to 0.5, which will make things a little faster in and out of the menus. Some people don't like it, but it does make the appearance of it speeding up there. At least seems a little faster. It doesn't. It's a little more jarring though. The animations aren't quite as soft, I guess is what you would call it. You'll notice that things just look a little faster, jumpier. But if you find it's a little too slow for you navigating through the UI, it's something that you can definitely do. I just want to talk about the Watch Ultra 2 for a second. It's basically the same interface here. There really isn't a whole lot different. There's a couple of things I want to mention though. If you go into the watch faces in here, there is one difference. One difference is on the Galaxy Watch Ultra 2, you have low light mode, which, you can now change the colors and the behavior of it. See like that red color there. That is only supported on certain watch faces, but it is a difference. And then there's also some different workouts and stuff that are supported. Here you've got, of course, the more rare diving support. And then you also have in here other workouts like the trail run. So if you go in here and you look at your various workouts, the trail run is going to be in here on the Watch Ultra 2. So you have a couple of things that are specific to the more rugged look and feel of this watch. And I think it's actually in here, the trail run somewhere. There's the trail run. So the trail run shows up right there on the Watch Ultra 2. All right, guys, that is my full list of first things to do with One UI 9 watch. Watch 9, Watch Ultra 2 up for sale now, coming to other watches soon. If you guys have any questions or other tips and tricks for other watch users out there, certainly share them below. Check out our coverage at SammyGuru.com, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.